Today we're going to be talking about Lesson 2 in Chapter 3 about adding integers. The first example we are going to look at when we talk about adding integers is a real-life example. In football, a team loses 5 yards on the first play and loses 2 yards on the second play. If we were to solve this using a number line, the play would start at 0. Now, first it says they lose 5 yards. So that would bring us back by -5. Then they lose 2 more yards, which would bring us back to -7. So they have lost a total of 7 yards. Another way we can look at it is using negative counters to explain our scenario, since in this real-life example, we're only looking at negative numbers. So a negative counter looks like this. So in the first example, the team loses 5 yards. So you're going to draw 5 of these negative counters in your square. Next, on the second play, they lose 2 more yards. So you're going to add in those 2 other yards. Then if you count up all of the counters together, you also have -7 counters. This way of solving will come in handy when you are working with positive and negative numbers. Lastly, to write this as an equation, it would be -5 plus -2, which equals -7. I put the parentheses around the -2. When you're adding negative numbers, it's very helpful to put parentheses around it so you know the negative sign is associated with that number and not taking place for subtraction instead of addition in the middle. So if a negative counter looks like this, then a positive counter is going to look like this. A zero pair is when a positive counter is paired with a negative counter. So this would be like adding -2 plus a +2. -2 plus +2 would equal 0. So in a zero pair, the negative and the positive add up together to be 0. So in this example, we are looking at -4 plus 2. Now, since we have a -4, we are going to add 4 negative counters. And then since we have a +2, we are going to add 2 positive counters. Now, the best way to solve this is to cross out all of your 0 pairs or remove your 0 pairs. So here we have a positive and negative. They cross out. Another positive, negative. And left over, we have 2 negatives. So your answer would be -2. So -4 plus 2 equals -2. Now on your notes piece of paper, I would like you to try -6 plus 5 using negative and positive counters. Then cross out your 0 pairs. While you draw the picture, I am also going to start adding my negative counters. So here I have 6 negative counters and 5 positive counters. I'm going to then cross out my 0 pairs. And all I have left over is 1 negative counter. So my answer is -1. Opposites is your next vocabulary word. Opposites are integers like 2 and -2 because they are the same distance from 0. So, the example I gave on the number line would be 3 and -3. They are both 3 units away from 0. That makes them opposites of each other. In your notes, I want you to write a real-world example for opposites. One example I have is hot and cold. Additive inverses are two integers that are opposites and add together to equal 0. An example of this would be 2 plus -2. You're going to add your 2, but then when you add your -2, it brings you back to 0. Here are some tricks when you are adding integers with the same sign. If both integers are positive, then the answer is positive. So 7 plus 4 equals a positive 11. Same with negative integers. If both integers are negative, then the answer is negative. So -7 plus -4 equals -11. When you are looking at adding integers with different signs, there are a couple of ways of looking at it. For this first example, 9 plus -4. You could create a number line starting at 0. You are going to put your dot on 9 since the problem starts at 9. Then you are adding -4. Since you are adding a negative number, you are going to make your way 4 spots closer to 0. So think of it like 9 minus 4. It puts you at 5. Your answer will be 5. Now, when you have a positive number plus a negative number, you could also cross out your positive and just go right into subtracting. So we know 9 minus 4 is 5. So that would be a quicker way of doing it without a number line. Now for this example, you are looking at -9 plus 4. So with this, you're going to put your dot on -9, and now you're moving 4 spaces closer to 0. So you're adding 4. This puts you at -5. So when you're adding a negative plus a positive, it might be easier for you to draw out your number line. Or you could look at it where -9 is bigger, so you know that your answer is going to be a negative. And then from there, since you're doing negative plus a positive, you could do -9, or 9 minus 4 is 5. And I know it's negative because my negative number is bigger. Now that's a little more of a confusing concept to grasp, so if you wanted to draw a number line to practice, that might be your best bet.